If I get a flat, am I allowed to change it myself? Simple question with a practical answer.
There's only one way at the end of the day to do these type of tasks on a last build aircraft or a certified aircraft, is following the maintenance practices that the manufacturer publishes. And it's to avoid failures. You can't make up your own procedures. And that the manufacturer publishes their procedures because they've tested it over a long period of time.
We're going to look at changing a tyre today. Also, when we're lifting the wing of a Jabiru, especially the wet wing version, we just put a little block on the fuel vent, just so it stops transferring the fuel whilst we've got the wings elevated on one side. This one. Ensure we put it in line with the wing spar. That's the most strongest section of the underneath of the wing. So we'll put it not far away from the wing strut and just in line with that spar. You can imagine that spar goes all the way out to the end, but the most strongest point's around here. So for changing the tyre, it's only basic tools, just a few spanners. You don't have to use a battery drill. Just a hand Phillips is fine as well, but for this purpose we'll use the drill. All those screws are off now. We'll just be removing the spats. Now moving forward, I'll bend these tabs back on top and bottom of the brakes here. We can undo the top bolt. We can just hang the brake pad down on the outer side, and then we'll be able to remove that. So once the bolt's undone, the tabs were bent back so we could get to the bolt. Just sliding that down. Remove the spring and we can slide that sleeve back, just makes life a little bit easier. So that's all free. We'll come out here to the little 3/16 bolt out here. This is just Jabiru's design. These bolts in here can be a bit tricky sometimes to get out, but if you can make a start by pushing underneath pretty firmly, and sometimes you can get a flat blade screwdriver under and lever the bolt up. Oh yeah, that bolt's out. Remove our stub axle extension. That's pretty much the only thing that holds that wheel on to that assembly. We slide our wheel off. Now we're about to do the fun stage, replacing the tyre and tube. So I'm going to put it in the vise. Got to manhandle it a little bit. It's not always the easiest. Some are easier than others. Some of our 10-ply tyres that we particularly use with Jabiru, they can be a bit trickier to change, but all in all, they're all manageable. The 6-ply tyre is what we're changing today. It's our standard tyre, the run-of-the-mill. It's on most models, so I'll get stuck into it. Just find using the vise makes it a little bit easier to hold it while you're doing this. So I'll start off first by releasing the air out of the tube. Some people are lucky enough they've got a velvet tool remover, and that's much simpler, but I don't have one on me today, so. There. I'll just put a little bit of light pressure on there. We'll remove the brake disc in this instance. Some of our earlier models we were able to, I'll turn it around so you can see. We had a wavy disc and you actually were able to get the socket through, but our current disc is back to the conventional round, just with a few slots in it. So in this case I do need to remove it, so I will remove that off. You'll just see that they sort of veer backwards like that, so the caliper will be on the front, so this would realistically be your right hand main. Yeah. with that brake disc removed. This particular model has another bracket here that can stay. That doesn't need to be removed for this particular job. Now we'll move on to the 1/4" bolts, which there are 4 of those on this particular rim. Some of our other models, we do have a 5-spoke version as well. Same concept though. Just going to pull this back out. I'm just going to drop the remaining bolts on the bench so I don't have to find them off the ground. I'll save them there. Rightio. Now we're up to the fun part at times, but this is where we'll start to put it in the... I use the vise. It's sort of a good starting point as well because you can squeeze it in and create a little bit of a gap here. Obviously, if you're out in the field, you're going to have to use a conventional set of tyre levers, which we will use here as well, but you'll have to start from scratch out in the paddock if you were in the field. So this one come away quite nicely, which is great. Sometimes when you're out in the field, that will not happen. They will be quite hard and very stiff and hard to get out, but just slowly working around and around, you will work it free. And you just have to do little bits by little bits. Sometimes you can mark the rim, which is, yeah, be careful. You're using the tyre lever to the best you can. If you do mark it, you're gonna have to just sort of try sand it or take that little sharpness out of there so the tube doesn't get pinched. So. Yeah, we've had a bit of a wind. And this one's got the valve on it as well, so we'll just be a bit careful when we pull that out. So there's both rims off. Pull that out. And we'll go get a new tyre and tube. Rightio, so we've got our new tyre and tube we're going to reinstall. First off, we will just put the tyre inside the tube. Actually, talcum powder, sorry. Talcum powder just helps, probably more so for the next person that's ever got to change it. Just helps that tyre not stick in the tube and the tube in the tyre. So once it's in there, we just put a little bit of air in there just to fill the tyre out. So we just got that tube, it's nice, it shouldn't pinch, but we will keep an eye on it. We got our rim. Obviously in particular, you got to keep an eye on the hole for the rim. We're going to poke that through. We can actually use a little bit of grease if you wanted to. We'll just use a little bit of rubber grease in this one. It'll just help that tyre slide out into the bead. Obviously we checked our rim before for any marks or scratches or anything like that. So that slid in quite nice. Just want to make sure our valve tube on the angle is quite in the center there, which it is, which is nice. We grab the opposing, we're going to line up the holes. Yep, that'll go nice. Just put some grease on this side as well. As I said, the grease is just going to help it bead that little bit better, make that tube slide right out. And just making sure that tyre and the tube is not going to be pinched. Everything's quite nice there. Rightio. And back to our bolts. Now we want to put the bolts from the hub facing outwards so we can always see our nylock nuts. Folding over this side, we've got our washers and our nylocks again. As soon as you start a few threads there, you can grab your socket and just wind it home until the nylock. Then we'll come back at the end and do the rest, but we'll just do one by one at a time. So I'll just do these up loosely for now. We will torque them in a minute. Just like to do this evenly. I start with this and then we'll get the torque wrench out and finish that off. Get our torque wrench. We've got a typical 1/4 inch bolt, so we'll go to 8 foot-pound on that one. This rim's a little bit tricky to get this size socket in there, so we'll actually torque it from the head. I just can't quite squeeze that 1/4 inch drive in there. Perfect. And we'll be back onto our brake disc. Now this is the orientation for the right hand wheel, so I kept the bolt in there as well, so it kept me on the correct direction. And we'll just give these ones a quick torque now as well. 3/16 bolts, we're going to go at 4 foot-pound on this one. Rightio. Had a bit of a look around. We can see that there is no gap in the centre of the rims where they join at all. Generally it's a big giveaway straight away that a tyre has, the tube has pinched, but everything seems fine there. Again, you can quickly check the wheel bearings. These are smooth, very silk smooth. It's all good. Add some air. This being a main tyre, Jabiru, I recommend running 45 PSI. Just like to do a little bit at a time. Just make sure the tyre is actually going out on the bead. Everything feels nice. Yep, continue on to our 45. Done. Now we just got the process of installing the rim back onto the aircraft. So just going to give that a light little clean while we're here. Just a little bit of brake clean. If you've got a little bit of brake clean on the brake pad, it's fine. It's not going to contaminate the pad or anything. I just use a rag just to give it a light clean, make sure everything's right. Both pads are nice. That sleeve will hold that there. Right, yeah. Just a small slither of grease will apply. So it's got a curved washer on the inside, which just matches the curve on the stub axle. You'll see it'll go flush. You can't quite get it wrong really. If you had it the wrong way around, it'll stand out. There'll be a massive gap, so it's quite clear there. Radio. In the later model Jabirus, we do have an extra set of holes on these stub axles. The earlier models don't. So if there is a little bit of play, you'll hear a bit of clunking if you're taxing, and it'll generally be that wheel having that slight bit of movement in the wheel bearing. Then you'll go looking, you'll try to find out what it is. It'll do your head in trying to find it. Generally we'll find we've got a tiny, tiny bit of wear, and it must be like a metal on metal pinching type noise. So Jabiru have since come out with an extra set of holes, so when that bolt does wear, which aluminium wears over time, especially if it's got a constant feel on there, we can rotate it, put the next hole in, and away we go. Unfortunately, this part, there's no real fast way about this. There's not a lot of room to get into here, so 2 spanners are pretty much the only thing you can use in here. Righty, going onto the brakes again. So we're just sliding that brake pad up. We're going to pull that sleeve right out. We've got our spring. The brake pad's up. Lock tabs held against there. It's about the correct tension. You just want to be able to spin it freely. Then we'll put the locking tab back over, and we're done. Changing your tyre is permitted maintenance. Following the manual is a must. Your safety depends on it. Never take shortcuts.